Hi, I'm Daniel, and on this episode of IB Cast, we're going to be talking about French and IB. So IB French has three different levels. Ab initio, which is the easiest, standard level, which is the mid-ground, and higher level, which is the hardest. I take standard level French, and compared to GCSE, it's quite different. So it is quite harder. You have to know quite a lot more compared to GCSE, and more importantly, it's graded a lot harsher. It's not as easy. I mean that in the way of, for example, the reading paper, you're given three texts, and then you have to answer questions based on what you read in the text. Normally in GCSE, you'd have a lot of multiple choice questions, but in IB, there's less multiple choice questions compared to the long answer questions where you have to actually say what a word means or say answer a question without actually writing down a word or a sentence. Similarly, to the listening in that way, where you hear it and you have less multiple choice questions than you do actually long answer questions where you write out a sentence or a few words. The writing is for the most part very similar, where you're given a prompt, you have to write in a certain style of like a letter or a diary, and you just write for standard, it's about 250 words minimum. And differently in French is, or for languages in general, the speaking assessment is considered the IA, the internal assessment, and it's called an internal oral. And so you have to prepare a 10-minute speech about a topic, and you have to respond to questions that your teacher gives you. And that is recorded, marked by the teacher before it's sent up to IB. Next on to Jeremias.
Hi, I'm Yermias, and I'm going to be talking about taking Ab Initio French. Ab Initio is a standard level course which is easier than the regular standard level course, and it is geared towards being an introductory French course. I decided to take this despite taking GCSE French as others did in our year group, as we found our foundation in the language was not as strong as was really needed to excel in the regular standard level course. I would say that Ab Initio French is very similar to GCSE, and when examined, the papers are just a bit harder or about the same difficulty as a higher level GCSE paper. Of course, as Daniel mentioned, there are less multiple choice questions and more writing elements, but the difficulty is about the same. In terms of content learned in class, it is about the same as the standard level in terms of the topics, but more class time is focused on basics like tenses and verb conjugation to solidify your foundation in the language. For preparing for exams, you cannot cram study a language in a few weeks or a few days, so it is good to immerse yourself as much as possible in whatever language you learn in IB throughout the 2 years. Now on to Charles, who is taking higher level.
As a native French speaker, I had little difficulty in the IGCSE French syllabus. However, taking the IB French at a higher level has really forced me to use the extent of my abilities in the French language, since the test was made for students who are extremely confident in the French language, and thus should only be taken if you have a high fluency in French. Similarly to standard and ab initio, we have four different papers. However, for the oral, you must answer questions on two French texts which you have read in class and analyze a specific text from one of the topics in the oral. This really helps increase the difficulty in the French oral since you need to talk better, talk faster, and it's a whole 10 minutes of speaking about a text, which is highly difficult compared to the questions asked at standard level.